Almost live from Studio 153 at the CNHR Broadcast Centre, overlooking beautiful downtown Acton, Ontario. It's a CNHR Radio Hour with your hosts, Bruce W. Cole and Deane Parks.
Hey, welcome to the CNHR News Podcast. We were on a bit of a summer sabbatical, but we're back now because summer's over. This is Bruce Cole, publisher of CNHR Magazine, and I'm here with Deane Parks, President Emeritus of Preferred Nutrition, 45 years in the industry, former retailer, worked for a distributor, started his own company. He's a writer, he's a speaker, he's a CNHR columnist. He's a spreader of joy. Deane, welcome.
Thank you, Bruce.
Well, Deane, I know there's an issue a lot of people will want me to address with you right off the top. I haven't seen you in a while. What have you been up to?
Not much.
What have you been doing lately?
Not really a lot.
Anything new with you?
Not really.
Is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners?
Maybe some information on Health Canada.
Deane, I didn't see you at CHFA East.
I wasn't there.
Oh, so you didn't see me either?
No.
Anyway, I'd just like to say we're reunited and it feels, I guess, not that bad. So today's topic is the recent news about Health Canada dropping a bombshell in our laps. Health Canada is proposing a change to the current NHP regulations, something our CHFA board members and staff have worked so long and hard to establish at great cost. I can't imagine the number of trips to Ottawa for our board members and our staff, the CHFA staff, to make this happen.
I think it started in 1997, so it's been over 20 years.
Has it really?
Almost 20 years.
Well, we're going to talk to 5 people from our industry, 5 people who I think are very plugged into this, some board members and some industry members, and also CHFA President Helen Long will be coming along shortly. Helen sent a letter out in mid-September, just after Health Canada dropped this bomb on us, and basically said in the future, if this change goes through, NHPs would be regulated using the same rules as drugs. And Deane, you even admitted yourself you weren't at CHFA East, but that was, without question, the big news on the trade show floor, and everyone was buzzing about it. And Helen sent a letter out on this Health Canada document, which is called Consulting Canadians on the Regulation of Self-Care Products in Canada. And she points out that this was based on a single public opinion poll and is now in the midst of just a 6-week consultation period. It's not a lot of time.
No, especially when it's taken us 20 years to put this together. Especially the last 12 years, extremely intense.
I think it's pretty massive. A couple things for me, the general takeaway from me being on the show floor, and by the way, our producer and director, Sam Truax, is here. Sam was at the show too. And perhaps you, Sam, you caught it too. That was absolutely the talking point of the show. That was the buzz of the show. And speaking with a number of people, including CHFA board members, the general consensus was this just came out of nowhere. So, Deane, I know you have a couple things you'd like to say in addressing this.
Well, I thought before we started, I'll give a little bit of an overview of what this new proposal entails. And I'm just reading this from the Health Canada site. The Department of Health Canada, they're proposing a new framework for self-care products. So natural health products will now come under as self-care products, and they'll be lumped in with cosmetics, OTCs, and natural health products. The approach will include the following 3 main proposals. Number 1 are products of similar risk profiles would be treated in a similar manner. This ensures rules for bringing products to market are more consistent and easier to understand. Number 2, the department would review health claims based on a new definition. Companies would require scientific proof to support these health claims. Number 3, a risk-based approach to compliance and safety monitoring will continue. This allows Health Canada to take quick action to protect consumers. So what I see is you have Health Canada's main mandate, I always thought, was safety. When we were always going through our discussions with them before, they said, our number one concern is safety. But now they seem to have switched to this risk-based profile, which is semantics, and they're lumping us in with OTC products that definitely have a risk, side effects involved, whereas natural health products have proven themselves over decades. I've been to health food stores across Canada for over 40 years, and I don't remember one serious incident at any of the health food stores. If there had been, it would have been front page news. It would have been all over the TV and everything, whereas every day people are having serious side effects with natural health products. And I find it's quite interesting. This comes in sort of sync with the U.S. I just received an email today that the FDA is putting all natural health products, food producers, on notice to make any health claims. You better have double-blind, randomized controlled trials to back them up. So this is the FDA at the same time are trying to push through a similar idea. And these randomized controlled trials are incredibly expensive. And the FDA and FTC know very well that natural health product companies, which by law cannot patent protect products, wouldn't be able to afford these, let alone afford one of these trials, let alone more than one. And I always find it kind of ironic. I don't know why Health Canada doesn't make pharmaceutical companies meet the safety standards of natural health products instead of making natural health products have to follow the drug model for their claims. And
it's almost reversed, right?
It's almost reversed. It's and especially when Health Canada safety is supposed to be their number one concern. And when you look at the world market, 80% of the world uses natural medicine as their first choice for medicine. So this has the implication of affecting a wide base of people even outside of Canada, because we're seen as standard bearers for how we manage our healthcare. So I really look forward to the people who are on the show today because they're industry leaders. I think they're going to really give us some good insights to what's going on.
Well, we have Helen Long coming on, the president of the CHFA, the Canadian Health Food Association. And Helen has been to Ottawa, I want to guess conservatively, 8 million times in the last couple of years to talk to MPs, talk to the bureaucrats, and build the relationship between our industry, because I think our members of our industry want to do it right. They want to be seen in a good light by consumers, and they've been playing the game. A better way to say it. And Helen has been at the forefront, helping lead this charge for years. Also on our program will be Robert Assaf, who's the current chair of CHFA. In fact, he's based in Ottawa. Matthew James will be on the show. He's a previous chair and board member of the CHFA. And Eldon Dahl, naturopathic doctor who owns Life Choice Products in Alberta. And also one of the great retailers in our country, John Biggs, who is very tuned into this whole thing and has been for many years. He'll be joining us to offer some of his thoughts on where we stand as an industry. And everyone's going to be offering us ideas on what we can do to maybe help Health Canada see the light.
I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be great.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Well, we'll be back in a few minutes, and we'll get to our first call shortly.
Over the past 60 years, I have prescribed and been introduced to countless health therapies from around the world. I formulated Medici Plus, a natural remedy with high amounts of vitamin C and lysine for maintaining strong bones, cartilage, teeth, and gums, and aiding in collagen formation. Now in my 90s, Medici Plus is my insurance for the maintenance of good health. Make Medici Plus a part of your daily health routine too.
Available at health food stores and specialty pharmacies.
All right, we're going to get this program rolling. And our first guest is Helen Long, the president of the CHFA. And I know Helen has been working long and hard on this with her staff and with the board members in recent week. Helen, welcome.
Welcome back, Helen.
Well, thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Deane. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
Deane has a question for you, Helen.
I knew he would.
It seemed that this new proposal from Health Canada to go to this risk-based model was a surprise to the entire industry. Was it a surprise also to you at the CHFA?
Well, I think it was a surprise to us in terms of the content and the delivery. So just to give you a bit of background, back in December, for the last couple of years, Health Canada has been talking about a new consumer health product framework. And back in December of 2014, they released the first draft of a consultation paper on that framework, which was really around over-the-counter drug regulations. There was nothing in it that, was a huge red flag for us, looked like something we could work with. It did make some sense in terms of grouping of products for consumer, how consumers buy. So, we were going through the consultation process. We provided some feedback. They did a bit of a what we heard report. Things seemed to be moving along. Early this spring, they started using the word self-care a little more than they had been previously instead of consumer health product. And in June, we attended a meeting with a couple of other associations in Health Canada at which they gave us a bit of an overview to what was coming. We couldn't take copies. They wouldn't let us have the documents afterwards. It was a quick, here's where we're going, any feedback, and that was it. So we expressed some pretty strong concern, along with a couple of other groups who were with us, the Homeopathic Association in particular. We expressed some strong concerns, some questions. There were a lot of details that were really unclear. Went away, had a meeting with the minister, expressed those concerns, did a little more sharing of information, and then in September we got this, right before the show, we got this new proposal, which all of a sudden is referring to a consumer survey, which, we have had a really good look at, and I'm going to suggest is quite flawed in terms of its methodology and some of the information or conclusions, I guess, that they come to. A 6-week consultation period, which, the last time they did a consultation period where they wanted consumer feedback, they had a 60-day window and they got 3 consumer responses. So I'm not sure how 45 days is going to help. Yeah, so, did we have any idea this was coming? No, we didn't.
Wow.
And I mean, the process to get to where we're at now at the NPNs, you spent 12 years on that. That was extremely difficult,
we
challenging.
all spent 12 years.
The entire industry.
The industry, I have to give our industry total credit. We went through the horrible process of I shouldn't say horrible. We went through the process of, okay, we're going to be a regulated industry. We tried to follow Health Canada's rules. We tried to get in line. They had that massive backlog. We had to go to them, in a similar situation not too unlike right now, to get UPLAR and the creation of that interim period to let them get the backlog caught up. Companies worked so hard to do the work they needed to do to get all their products licensed, retailers to get all the right products on the shelf, get rid of things that weren't licensed and shouldn't be for sale. Finally got to what I'm going to call a steady stream of commerce in, September of 2013. And here we are. It's kind of like 12 years to get an industry working with what we think is a great system, the gold standard in the world. And now it's like, hey, let's throw the baby and the bathwater out.
Wow.
Incredible.
Well, Helen, do you, you've had a chance to talk it over with your staff and with board members and key industry members. Is there any reason why you think this happened now, the timing now after the wonderful relationship, the working relationship you've built up with the government?
Yeah, I know. Bruce, I can't put my finger on any one thing. I mean, certainly there's been some staff changings within NHPD at Health Canada, so, perhaps that's a factor. They do refer to this consumer study as a driver. I'm not sure how much of that is, I find that, I'm not sure that's accurate. That doesn't seem like enough to drive this much change. In some conversations, I've been told, there's been some other indicators or other flags for us, but beyond that, no, we have no details. I don't know what drove this. Something.
Wow.
That's certainly a question we're asking Health Canada. What else have you got? What else is motivating this?
Now, at the CHFA East, the CHFA is promoting the statement that NHPs are not drugs. And I believe at this point they currently are a subcategory of drugs. And I know this has been a sort of a bit of a bugaboo for our industry for a long time, that we would like to, have natural health products have their at least be recognized as for their unique
Properties?
Their unique properties and their safety as well. And I'm wondering, is there ever, you think, a chance to have NHPs not sort of grouped in under the OTCs or into the drug category? I think it might just be that the bureaucrats are doing this just for budgeting reasons. But
it's hard to say. Under the Food and Drug Act, technically natural health products, they're not defined in there, but as a result, they are considered a subcategory of drugs. Under the regulations, we have our own definition. So CHFA, for a long time, several years, we were looking for a separate category under the Food and Drug Act, and then eventually we were looking for a Natural Health Products Act. Getting a new act or changing an act is, can be really hard. And because we've reached a point where we seem to have a reasonable set of regulations, most of the industry is in compliance and working within those regulations, it became a bit of a, do we really have to change the act when we've got the pieces that we want? And I guess we made the decision at that time to really focus on having the right regulations and keeping business running day to day. Do we need to go back and start talking about an act again? That's the only way to get us out. Now, that said, that's a legislative change, which is a lot harder than a regulatory change, but it does offer us more security. It's not infallible, but it certainly would give us a lot more security than a set of regulations does. So is it a possibility? I mean, I think it's always a possibility, but it's a big, big hill to climb.
Well, Deane and I were speaking earlier today about how miraculously quickly, CHFA jumped on this. At the show, I was at the show and saw everyone walking around with shirts and with the shirts, NHPs are not drugs, and signing petitions, and there was just so much interaction, and this was totally the dominant buzz at the show. And since then, I'm certain that you guys have been, I don't know, up to your ears, up to your necks. I don't know what the expression is, but what are some of the other things you're doing, Helen, the CHFA staff and the board, to deal with this situation?
Yeah, so we're doing a few things. We're just rolling out or getting ready to roll out our retailer packages. So we've done a bit of a transition. NHPs are not drugs is a really strong message for us from the political side, and speaking to the bureaucrats and in speaking to politicians. So we're still using that message a lot. On the consumer side, we're moving to a Save Our Supplements message, so talking more about freedom and access, ability to choose as a consumer. So we're getting retailer kits ready to go out this week that have postcards and posters and stand-up counter pieces and other collateral that retailers can use to get consumers in their store to send in a postcard to their MP. The fastest way to get action from a member of parliament is for people in his riding to say, hey, I have an issue, because that's a vote, and that means something to MPs. So this is, the biggest and the most important part of what we're doing. So those postcards are rolling out. We've been promoting our Send a Letter to Your MP tool, which is on our chfa.ca website. You just click through the banner at the top and send a letter immediately to your MP. So we've been encouraging people to share that. We've, of course, sent in a response to the Minister of Health. We're working on the formal consultation response, and we'll also be working with our members, including our advisory councils, to generate some content that they can use when they're responding to the consultation request. That's just part of the process, so we have to do that. I'm in Ottawa tomorrow, actually, doing 8 meetings, including Leader of the Opposition, many of the health critics. So we're really going into Ottawa and starting to have those meetings and have those discussions face-to-face. We know that, there's thousands of letters sent yet. We're not where we need to be. That's a big piece of it. So all of that, building social media is going to be a big thing over the next week or so to really drive that social media traffic and engage all of our followers, and encouraging members to all, it's critical, members, not just members of CHFA, but members of the industry.
Yes.
We've been communicating with both groups on the program, asking both groups to get involved and get engaged.
So if the retailers want to get one of these kits or packages, do they just go to the website, or?
They're just going to get going to get one. So if people have a specific request, and I've had a bunch of people who are really keen, so they're getting bigger quantities, or people who've done want to do something because they have an event coming up, we've kind of personalized that. But every retailer who's a CHFA member will get a kit first, and then we'll start looking at the retailers who aren't members. We've already shared all of our tools in terms of graphics and articles and posts and that kind of thing with both our member and non-member retailers in the industry. I think for non-member retailers, this is a good example of exactly what CHFA does for industry and what we do for you. So,
no, it should help membership. I think.
Yeah. Hey, if you're a non-member retailer and you're listening, what better reason than this to join CHFA? And I know some people are still under the perception that the prices are high, but if you're an independent retailer, it's really actually very, very affordable.
Well, if it's going to save supplements, it's affordable.
Yeah,
Helen,
critical.
I guess you just sort of touched on one of the silver linings of this cloud that's sort of hanging over us right now. The fact that you're able to reach out and get positive response from non-members. Have there been any other little silver linings in this shocking event?
Well, I mean, I think there's been, the big one for me, especially at the show where, as you said, we kind of had to hit the ground running pretty hard and fast, and there was a lot of pressure and a lot of things that needed to get done. Certainly, if you ever want to know how good your team is and how much of a team they are, have a crisis, because I can't say enough about the staff and the team at CHFA, the board, our strategic advisors, the GR firm that we've been working for several years. Yeah. Everybody was there supporting us and helping to build the plan and picking up their piece. So if you want to see how good you are as a group, have a crisis.
Well, one of the things I heard from a couple people at the show and after the show was, wow, I've never seen our industry been so unified in a long time.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, and I agree. I think I shared with you before the call. I've talked to a few people this week that I seldom or generally speak to when someone's unhappy, and I've had some really great conversations about, being together and being on the same page and how we can all support each other. So that's been great to see.
Yeah. Well, Helen, just one last thing. We'll just take a couple more minutes. I wanted to know what you would suggest industry members can do to help right now.
Well, the first and most important thing they can do immediately today, as soon as possible, is go to chfa.ca and send a letter to their MP, and then share that with everybody they know, basically. If you're a retailer, when you get your kit, support us by using those postcards, getting customers to fill them out, dropping in the mail. We've done really all the work in terms of putting the material together for you. Have the customers fill them out and drop them off. That's really all you need to do, and that'll have a huge, huge impact. And then picking up, for all of our members and non-members, picking up the social media posts. Like, we've pre-written the tweets and the Facebook posts. All you have to do, cut and paste. We've got little graphics that you can use. Just take advantage of what we're sharing and get the word out.
That's great, Helen.
It's really easy.
It was quite a scene being at CHFA and watching you and your team go 200 miles an hour.
Rally, yeah. My favorite part was getting off that lift at the rally and speaking to a woman who said, "Oh, you don't remember me?" And I admitted I can't always remember everybody I've met on the show floor. And then she said, "Oh, I'm with Health Canada." And I said, "Oh, thanks for coming."
Oh. Helen, thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you, Helen.
We're going to continue to watch this, and we want to keep in touch and hopefully have you on again soon to follow up and report on any progress.
Well, thank you both for covering the issue and for reaching out, because we can't do it alone, and I think this is something that affects each and every one of us in the industry, and we need everyone's help. So thanks for giving us the audience and the ability to talk about it today.
Thanks, Helen, and thanks to your team.
Yeah, thanks very much. Have a great day.
All the best.
Over the past 60 years, I have prescribed and been introduced to countless health therapies from around the world. I formulated Medici Plus, a natural remedy with high amounts of vitamin C and lysine. for maintaining strong bones, cartilage, teeth, and gums, and aiding in college information. Now in my 90s, Medi-C Plus is my insurance for the maintenance of good health. Make Medi-C Plus a part of your daily health routine, too.
Available at health food stores and specialty pharmacies.
All right, we're back with the CNHR News podcast with Deane Parks and Bruce Cole. And our guest right now is the renowned doctor of naturopathic medicine, Dr. Eldon Dahl, the founder of Life Choice Products of Cochrane, Alberta. Welcome, Eldon.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your program.
Nice to have you.
Nice being here with you two. You guys are illustrious and very well known in our industry, so it's an honor.
Well, you and Eldon, you and Deane go back years. You have both been in this industry a long time, and you've seen issues come and go, and you've seen products come and go, and I'm sure that this recent announcement by Health Canada probably caught you by surprise.
Well, not really. I know that they can never really be trusted, so that's my opinion. It did catch me by surprise in the way it was delivered.
What would you have expected? Something more elaborate?
No. I think under the circumstances, how it was given was a shock. This is the thing.
Yeah, it came as a surprise to all of us.
Yeah. And Eldon, you were at CHFA East in Toronto recently, and I believe that was the feeling on the show floor was disbelief, shock, blindside. Pick your word.
Well, yeah, I think it was something because I was in that meeting, and it's the first time I've really seen a real unification of all the members because it was an uproar. We had the Health Canada bureaucrat talking and telling us about what they were proposing, and I learned that it was only 4 days that our industry was told about this, 4 days before our actual meeting. Now, I would say that's underhanded. I think it's actually a betrayal of our industry.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Eldon, you've been doing this a long time. You're a naturopathic doctor. You manufacture natural health herbal remedies for people all over Canada. Do you think our products are unsafe? Do you think they present a risk to Canadians?
I've been doing this, I started out in 1986. I've been doing it now 30 years. And on the contrary, I would call what we produce here in the natural health industry, natural health products are ultra safe and pose no risk to Canadians. I think the only risk they would pose if you're not taking them.
Do you need an NPN for that, not taking them?
That's to be discovered.
It seems safety isn't the real issue when it comes to the risk. I'm sort of confused as to what makes a risk out of a product when it comes to the health claim. But when I read through the what Health Canada is proposing as their new framework for self-care products, it seems risk has to do with the claims we make on the product, not so much whether the product's safe or not. What do you think of that? What's your...
Well, I personally think that the risks that are placed on our product labels is really a risk because most people, they assume Health Canada are on taking pharmaceutical drugs. And the risk would be if they were going to take natural health products in conjunction with something of a drug, a prescription drug. And prescription drugs are the ones that are loaded with side effects. And so if you have a product that's trying to bring your body into an alignment, like natural health products would do, prescription drugs then shut down your body, and they work by working directly with a certain symptom. And this could be somewhat a deterrent, and that's why they put the risk. But it's not, if a person was taking natural health products on their own with a decent diet, there is no risk.
Yeah, thanks. I agree. If this proposal goes through, what will it mean to you as a manufacturer? Will you have to change anything in your business? Will there be any costs or any changes you see?
Well, let me go into that. As a manufacturer of 93 licensed NPNs, we aligned our products to be mutually negotiated under the regulations and guidelines, and they were collectively agreed upon between Health Canada and the CHFA, and they were developed through 12 years of consultation. Now, as a business owner, trust becomes a large factor when agreeing to regulation changes, and because the industry, being in the industry, we trusted Health Canada, and we, and myself included, invested in the promises to the tune of about, I think we're probably in at about $250,000 for making our products with strong label claims, and in order to secure our company's future in this industry. And the thing is, with the fast track proposal now being introduced by Health Canada, is really, like I said before, is a total betrayal of the trust and bond that our industry agreed upon with NPN regulations. And their proposal hoodwinked our entire industry and threatens everything we've accomplished to this date.
Well, Eldon, you and I had a conversation yesterday about this show, and when we spoke, you mentioned that this proposed regulatory change will affect 77% of ethnic diverse people in Canada. Now, did I understand that correctly?
Well, it is. I really think that Health Canada brought this out, and it is estimated that they're saying 70% of Canadians, and so it means there's a large diversity, and I think what Health Canada's proposal is to really confuse the public at large, and this will be Chinese medicine, traditional, herbal, Ayurvedic, native Indian, or even the homeopathic medicine. And this action will change how 70% of the Canadians choose healthcare of all ethnic origins. Now, we must consider, and I don't think we consider this, that the NPN sold in health food stores and pharmacies is not all it is. This big reach is much broader than that. Every Chinatown is selling their own licensed natural health products, as well as those of Indian origin and even the native Indians.
Exactly.
And collectively, we have been betrayed while acting in good faith. The ultra-safe category that we have been assigned to NPNs are now threatened to be the same category as over-the-counter non-prescription drugs, and they can't sit side by side on the shelf as the same category.
Do you think they're doing this more as just sort of budgeting, just trying to make their job easier, or do you think there is an actual underlying direct sort of they feel a direct threat to natural health products, or they feel that they have to go after natural health products? Because this has gone on, as you know, for so long as we've been in the industry, and I don't ever understand our products are so safe. So when you're saying the trust, it sort of sounds like there's almost like a plan that Health Canada has to sort of undermine natural health products.
Well, it's to give you an example, a friend of mine who's Mr. Buckley, I think everyone knows him,
yes.
was talking to a Health Canada agent, and she has severe rheumatoid arthritis. And he mentioned that there were several natural health products and herbal products that could help her treat her rheumatoid arthritis. And she looked him straight in the eye and said, I would rather have my arthritis than to take those products.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he told me that, and what I realized then at that time, and this is going back before we really had NPNs on the shelf, what it was then is they didn't believe in the science. So what we all agreed as an industry, we're going to put the science there. We're going to follow through. We'll put out the money. We'll bring ourselves in alignment. We'll give the science. We'll assign an NPN on our products So now we can be equal to over-the-counter prescription drugs that we can walk to a medical doctor and say, rather than hitting your patient over the head with a sledgehammer, why not use a thumbtack because it'll help them in the same accord? And this we had with the science backed up with NPNs and Health Canada's approval.
But it seems with their new framework, they're saying that the companies would require scientific proof to support these health claims. So it's as if they don't trust the science that we have, and now we're going to have to follow a different model of science that probably doesn't suit us, the natural health product industry.
Oh, exactly, because if we're going to have to do science that pharma uses, then pharma is protected by having patented ingredients
Exactly.
and patented formulas. We do not have that luxury. So what they propose for our industry is to have scientific claims of probably patents that companies, something like, let's say, Bayer, who just bought Monsanto, has the right to some of these ingredients. And if, perchance, this becomes a proposed law, they could do the clinical studies and have those scientific claims on ultra-safe natural health products and then have a patent on those, which would limit the accessibility to the public and raise the price enormously.
Crazy.
Eldon, I just have one last question for you. You've been doing this a long time now. You've seen a lot of things happen in our industry. What would you suggest we as an industry do to approach Health Canada and encourage them to look at this differently and to drop this proposed regulatory change?
Well, in the meeting that I was at, we were told that it is not a Liberal government incentive. I think this is something we must keep in mind. Instead, it's an independent action by bureaucrats from Health Canada. So as I said, Health Canada is trying to pull a fast one with this 6 weeks notice. And we are scrambling. And each time we win, we leave a temporary door open. And this is where I think that we should not allow this to happen again. I think what we need to do is this time, while we're making our protest, make the proposal for a Natural Product Act that will close the loophole and provide the framework for longevity of NPNs. Now, I did as Health Canada, let me go further. I believe that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said repeatedly, diversity is Canada's strength. And Canada stands for ethnic diversion, and our freedom of health care is no exception. So collectively, every Canadian and every ethnic origin needs to voice their concern, making sure that their protest reaches the Prime Minister's ear. The CHFA has made this first step fairly easy. If we go to chfa.ca, NPNs are not drugs, and sign the letter to your local MP and copy the letter and send it to the Health Minister and the Prime Minister.
Exactly.
And one step further is by actually making an appointment with your local MPs about NPNs are not drugs. And one other thing that's interesting, I just got the letter today from my local MP. I did is that, like I suggested, go to the CHFA and sign up. And today I had a letter from my local MP. And here he is, and I have a good relationship with him. He knows me well. And he comes out here, and this is where he's thinking this is going. He said, as you are aware, Health Canada determined in February 2016 that an update to labeling for homeopathic medicine was necessary to provide Canadians with more information to make better informed choices. He's confused. He thinks what's going on is dealing with something back in February about homeopathic remedies. And then he goes in and then goes on to say that 25,000 natural health product license for can be legally now sold in Canada. So he's bringing out what we are trying to preserve. And he says here, as someone, and this is what he's saying to me, as someone who has used natural health products in the past, I am a supporter of the continual freedom of use of all scientifically safe and effective natural health products that are NPNs. Now, there we are. The government that we have in place in Parliament today don't understand what's going on. This has been pushed through with a 6-week proposal, 4 days before it's notifying CHFA, and they want to ram it through.
Yeah. No, that speaks to your saying that the bureaucrats are running the ship and the politicians have no idea what's going on.
They're the neck that turns the head of every new election. They don't. The neck remains.
Exactly.
So we got to do something about the neck. Eldon,
Yep.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your time and your input and your expertise. Deane and I both really appreciate you coming on this show. And we're going to keep an eye on this issue, and hopefully we'll be able to have you join us again in the near future to address it again.
Thank you, Eldon.
Okay, thank you. It's been a pleasure. All the best.
Yes.
Honey, where's the vitamin C? I think my immune system needs a boost.
Oh, I'll get the ester C.
You mean vitamin C?
Yes, but this is ester C. It's been clinically proven to be absorbed faster than ascorbic acid vitamin C and stays in your system for up to 24 hours.
Sounds great. They should patent it or something.
They already have, dear.
Smart.
Unlike some people who should have been taking it all along.
Yeah.
Ester C from Sisu. For the support of a healthy immune system, always read and follow the label.
Welcome back to the CNHR News Podcast. Deane Parks and Bruce Cole here, along with our producer Sam Truax. Today's special program, we're addressing Health Canada's Consulting Canadians on the Regulation of Self-Care Products in Canada document, which was presented to our industry a few weeks ago. We're bringing on someone I think that can offer a little bit of authority on this topic. We welcome Matthew James, the president of Purity Life Health Products, and also a former board member and a former chair of the CHFA. And Matthew, I think you've probably had a couple of visits up to Ottawa in your career.
Welcome, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Well, Matthew, let's start with how surprised were you when you learned about Health Canada's announcement?
Very surprised. I mean, industry, Purity Life, even the government has spent millions and millions of dollars to comply with these regulations over the last 10 years, and we've finally gotten to a spot where they're functioning. Are they perfect? No, but they've come a long way and are working for us and are recognized around the world as sort of the leading way of regulating natural health products. I was very surprised that Health Canada was thinking about another way that would cost us an industry more money to try and comply with it, and would be lesser in terms of the way that products were regulated, and could potentially make less products available to consumers. So very surprised about the changes.
So you had no... Yeah, it was total surprise.
Correct.
Wow. Incredible.
Because to me, again, as a journalist, reporter, whatever it is I do, I stand back and watch it, and it seems to me that over the years that the CHFA, the members of the board, people from our industry had developed a good working relationship with the members of Health Canada, the bureaucrats, and just to me, over the last 10 years, it seemed to really progress in a positive manner.
I would concur with that. I mean, even with my own experience in my meetings with NHPD over the 6 years I was on the CHFA board, I thought it was a very collaborative approach in terms of what was happening in terms of consulting industry and dealing with some of the issues. That being said, it has been a revolving door there with staff, and clearly they are under some pressure to make some changes and are looking for ways to probably be more efficient in how they regulate things. And I suspect it's come out of these changes have come out of the desire to save money, the pressures from the other over-the-counter categories in terms of creating a consistent way of regulating products. But that isn't useful for our industry, and I don't think it's going to be beneficial, because we have something that's worked now that we've all invested in heavily, and why go back? It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
I've always thought that Health Canada's main goal or purpose was to provide safety for Canadians. And as we've known with NHPs in my time in the industry, and I think over the years, there haven't really been any that I know of associated deaths with approved natural health products that are sold in the health food stores. And with Health Canada's main purpose to protect the public from unsafe products, how do you think Health Canada's are going to assess the NHPs on safety and not on pharma-based drug trials? Because it seems that they've sort of mixed this word risk. All of a sudden, our products become unsafe because of this risk-based approach. And it's how do you feel that's
I
going
think
to
the
serve
whole
us?
safety issue they're bringing forward is a complete red herring. I mean, the numbers don't misrepresent themselves as it relates to the safety of natural health products. Very safe, very limited amount of deaths, probably zero. I don't have exact facts in front of me, but certainly nothing compared to the over-the-counter products that you would find, whether it's acetaminophen or other products that have a much higher safety risk profile. I think this is just being driven purely by the desire for them to try to save money. The bureaucrats, it's not being driven by the politicians. I don't think the politicians would want to touch this. But the bureaucrats are trying to figure out a way where they can save money. And, hey, let's get rid of this natural product directorate. That will save us some money, and we'll regulate sort of everything the same way, and it'll be more efficient for us. But that doesn't really address the fact that we've all invested heavily into a system that's working now, and they just use the safety issue as a way to draw attention to why they want to do it, but I don't think it's a real reason why, because the facts don't support that reasoning.
Exactly.
Wow. Matthew, something Deane and I were talking about earlier today is the fact that consumer can buy any natural health product from the U.S. or probably anywhere in the world for their personal use. Mm-hmm. And Deane mentioned this is covered in the Canadian Export Act, and there's no chance this will ever be changed. So as it stands now, this is already a deterrent to Canadian businesses. Now I'm asking you, if Health Canada proposal goes through, how will this further damage the sales efforts of Purity Life and all the other Canadian distributors, manufacturers, and the retailers?
Well, it's a great question, Bruce. I mean, I think what's transpired over the last 10 or 15 years, and there's going to be different opinions on this, but from a Canadian company that employs 115 Canadians here in the Halton Hills, Acton area, as well as in Vancouver with our warehouse, I think it's been very favorable, these regulations, as it relates to supporting Canadian businesses, because it's kind of created a bit of a trade barrier for some of the U.S. companies to come into Canada and dump products. And I'm very concerned that if they go to a system that's more wide open, that's post-market surveillance versus pre-market approval, that it's going to create a lot of issues for Canadian local companies that have been able to thrive in this system and do very well, and also export very effectively because of the regulations. And what they're proposing is watering down, and I think will create significant issues for a lot of Canadian companies. And all of a sudden, you're going to have all these other companies coming into Canada because it's a lot cheaper for them to come in than it is now, and really hurting a lot of Canadian business, and that really will translate into less employment for a lot of Canadian companies and Canadian individuals.
Wow.
And the other thing, I guess, that sort of tacks onto that is, what does this mean to your company and other companies having to go through financial burden of changing labels, reformulating, packaging, advertising? You know, does the list go on and on?
For sure. I mean, anytime there's these kind of changes, it just creates mass confusion. And confusion, in any sense, does not help markets grow. And, you know, things are stable right now. They're growing. There's a lot of interest by consumers. The labels work. I mean, there's still issues with some of the risk information, but overall I'd say it's positive. But this will just throw a whole wrench into that, and then you've got companies that will have to spend money on labels. And those are real dollars after already investing millions of dollars to come into compliance.
Wow.
So to me, it's totally absurd.
Wow.
Exactly.
Well, we've got about 2 minutes left, Matthew, so maybe we could just ask you, we're going to ask everybody this question. What would you suggest as a solution? What I'm trying to say, what can we as industry members do to help?
The single most effective thing is to write to your member of parliament and say, we do not agree with these proposed changes. We have a system that works right now that is very safe for the products that are being regulated, given the profile of safety with them. And we want you as our elected official to tell the bureaucrats, I should say, to back off and focus on more important issues and real issues that are affecting the safety of Canadians, not stuff related to natural health products. I mean, that's crazy.
Fabulous. Yeah,
and so go to chfa.ca, fill out the letter there to your member parliament. It's very easy. It's a great little app, and you can personalize it right to your member parliament and let them know how you feel about the proposed changes. That's by far the most effective way. Government's got more important issues with the legalizing of marijuana and assisted dying legislation, and they hear from enough Canadians that they'll put pressure on the bureaucrats to back off.
Well, that's great.
That's very good.
Matthew, that's wonderful. We're going to keep an eye on this, and I suspect we're going to be addressing it again, and I hope you'd be willing to come on with us and help us explain this to people and make this go away somehow.
Absolutely. It's very important to me and all of our employees here, so I'd be happy to support you. You guys are doing good work out there. Thank you.
Yeah, and you too, Matthew. I always love having you on. All the best, and thanks so much.
Thanks, Matthew.
All right, take care. Thanks, guys.
If you have ever experienced a urinary tract infection, you know how frustrating and debilitating symptoms can be. From Preferred Nutrition comes UTIE drops, a natural solution to effectively eliminate urinary tract infections quickly and painlessly. For fast and effective relief from urinary tract infections, ask for UTIE drops, available exclusively from your local health food retailer or specialty pharmacy. For more information, visit pno.ca.
All right, we're continuing our investigation and study of Health Canada's recent Consulting Canadians on the Regulation of Self-Care Products in Canada document, which they dropped into our laps a few weeks ago, just prior to CHFA East. And right now on the show we have Robert, Assaf, the president of Kardish Health Food Centres in Ottawa. And Robert also plays a key role in our industry. He is currently the chair of the CHFA board. Robert, welcome.
Welcome, Robert.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Well, we thought you'd be an ideal guy to have, Robert, and also you and I had a great discussion at CHFA for probably an hour, and you filled me in on the seriousness of this issue, and I'm not sure the word I think you used was maybe blindsided or surprised, or you probably have a better word than that.
And as a retailer, being on the front lines, it's so important that you're out there to help get that message across to your consumers. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. No, blindsided, I think was the word I used, Bruce. It was. It came as a shock to everyone. I'm sure we've just had the current regulations for a couple of years. Things seem to be going smoothly, and then this. It's like Health Canada wants to fix the problem that's not broken. It's unfortunate, but we have to rally and start making consumers aware and get our push on, get a plan together, and get moving.
Yeah.
Robert, how do you see these proposed changes affecting you and the thousands of other natural health retailers in Canada as a retailer?
Well, the biggest thing that it's a big unknown, but I mean everybody sees where it could go. It's the access to products. The proposed changes don't allow products deemed low risk to make any claims at all, which is really not the way we want to go. We've been able to make claims on these products based on reasonable evidence is the current system, and there's a lot of products that we all know work great for our customers. They have for years before we were all around, and to be able to make claims definitely helps consumers at the retail level sort of validate their purchase, overcome some objections they may have. It definitely helps sales staff as well when they're referring products. It just sort of increases the confidence overall. And then moving on to sort of medium and high risk products, the changes are really drastic, or potentially really drastic, where the wording in the document that Health Canada released refers to scientific evidence, and there's no mention of what this scientific evidence could mean, and that's a slippery slope.
Exactly.
You know, who knows what that could be, and I mean the whole wording about it, you know, sort of doesn't makes people think it doesn't even come from Health Canada. You know, that who knows about that angle, but it's really not good wording. It's sort of counter to our industry. So I mean, we've got great regulations. We want to keep them going, and there's nothing wrong with the current system. So the changes could be catastrophic.
I mean, this came as a big surprise to us in our industry. The consumers who use these products, if it came to a surprise to us, they wouldn't even have an idea this is going on. So how do you see us being able to inform the consumers who have been depending on this? I believe it's about 70% of Canadians use natural health products on a regular basis. How do you see in the retailer getting across this message to the consumers, your customers?
Yeah, it's really important for retailers to get involved. Suppliers and retailers, you know, so everybody just leading the charge within their personal networks, their professional networks, letting the consumers know about this. You know, in the days we live in now with social media, it's pretty easy to spread the word about a cause. It might get sort of missed because there's so many messages, but it's still so easy to just spread the word about this. That's one of the things we've done as a company. We immediately hit the social media just because it's really quick and easy to get it messaging out there. I know CHFA's provided some tools that you can just look. We've just sort of, you know, copied and pasted into our social media posts. It was really quick and easy to get out. You know, I certainly shared it. At the retail level, just a week ago today, I made a presentation to our entire company. Again, that was another tool CHFA put together, just you know, like a PowerPoint presentation. I just went over it with the company. We do a training day in our company, and it happened to coincide with this announcement. So I leveraged that and spoke to all our retail staff, and you know, answered their questions about it, and they were really just ready to go, ready to tell consumers. You know, one of them would say we should play Revolution music and we go do a rally, and all right.
Well, you're in Ottawa.
We really need to all get together and sort of use effective tactics. So letting our MPs know is one thing, but just at the retail level, really, it's just in the trenches. You know, we're in the stores, in the aisles, letting customers know, hey, you know, this supplement, this product you take, there's Health Canada's proposing some big changes that might restrict your access, might limit your freedom of choice. These are the things that our customers really want to hear, and it was an easy conversation with my staff. They see all these people coming into the stores on a regular basis. They have their regulars, they have new people. People trust our products more than ever, and you know, if you let them know that you know, their freedom of choice, they're choosing these products as alternatives for other products. If that choice is threatened, they will make their voice heard. So that's really the biggest key.
That's really good.
We've got a passionate industry, and just letting the consumers know, and the staff are very powerful too. I mean, they'll speak to their friends and family. So I think that's how we're going to inform consumers about them.
Now, did you say, Robert, that the CHFA created a PowerPoint for retailers to show to their staff? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
It was a great tool. I honestly, I had such limited time. This training day came really fast. I just kind of like gave it a once over, and then I just got right into it. And I told my staff, I said, look, guys, I haven't practiced this presentation or anything, but I'm going to go through with it, you all, because it's really important. We'll work through it together. You know, and it is a little, it's a bit of a simplified version for some of the regulatory issues. I know that can bog people down, but I found it was really really effective. And if any of your just check the CHFA emails. If there's people who are listening to this that aren't on the CHFA emails, they can email me, Robert at kardishfoods.com, and I'll email it to them. so they can go through it with their staff. We just want to get the word out to everybody. It's important.
Thank you, Robert. That's really, I was really impressed with how the CHFA acted so quickly on this.
Yeah, I was too. And it was all the staff. They really, Helen and her staff and Michelle in communications, they really got a lot of things ready very quickly. And I know the next phase is coming out really soon. So I know people are holding tight for that.
Well, I know
coming.
It's not to compare, what we're doing with war, but in a way, it's kind of like the CHFA and us as an industry have sort of been on a war footing for years with the government. And when a true crisis is dropped, it just seemed like everyone they didn't expect this, but they reacted so quickly. It was almost like in the back of their minds, they were kind of prepared to see what Helen and her group did and our engaged, active board of directors. We have so many people involved with the CHFA staff and volunteers to see how quickly this happened and how quickly the industry rallied. It was really quite inspiring to see it, especially at CHFA East a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it coincided well with the show that we could spread the word. And Helen's a warrior. She's been through this before. She just sort of got into that mode and had all these materials and all these things ready to go.
Kidding.
And we're just there's a lot of really good tools. So people should really pay attention to the emails. They're coming through in the emails. But if they're not getting emails or they want tools, just contact the CHFA. They've got a lot of resources that can help. You don't have to create all this marketing material on your own. You can take the ready-made things and use them.
That's great. Robert, we've got about 2 minutes, so I'd just like to ask you, what would you suggest as a solution to this, and what can industry members do to help?
For the industry, well, a solution, we have to use the tools. There's another tool that to engage your local MP. So it's right on the CHFA website. Just clicking through on the main banner will let you send a letter to your MP directly through the tool. And in addition to that, that's a sort of a form letter. If you have a good relationship with your MP, or even if you don't, and you want to send your MP a letter on your own, definitely do that. I'm going to Parliament Hill tomorrow with CHFA staff and some other board members to meet with MPs and make them aware of the issue. So the MPs can really get a lot done if they understand our issue and they understand that a lot of their constituents that have a problem with it and object to it. So engaging the MPs is really important, and engaging the customers. So for suppliers, that means really just making sure you're connecting with your retailers and letting them know what's going on. There are probably some retailers who still don't know this is going on. They're running their businesses, and it's probably on the supplier side too. So letting everybody know, spreading the word, and then just sort of sharing the tools and resources, everybody coming together and helping each other. So
it's nice that there is a solution that is sort of coordinated. I'm really happy to see that what the CHFA has done. That's really good.
Yeah,
Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Good work to you, Robert, and all the board members and the CHFA staff.
And good luck in Ottawa tomorrow. Thanks for doing that too.
BioSil, advanced collagen generators. Volumize and strengthen your hair from the inside out. Thicken hair, 12.8%. Strengthen hair, 13.1%. Clinically proven.
Thick, strong and shiny hair, that's exactly what BioSil has to offer. In a landmark clinical trial, women taking BioSil increased their hair thickness and hair strength by a full 13%.
BioSil, advanced collagen generators.
All right, we're back with the CNHR News Podcast. Deane Parks, Bruce Cole, and our producer, Sam Truax. And we've had a very interesting show so far. We're taking a look at Health Canada's recent document they proposed called Consulting Canadians on the Regulation of Self-Care Products in Canada. This was something that was dropped into the lap of our industry in early September, and it's caused quite a stir and quite a wave in the industry. So We're going to take the opportunity now to welcome John Biggs, the owner of Optimum Health Products in Edmonton. John is one of the top retailers in Canada, and we're extremely happy to have him on. Welcome, John.
Welcome, John.
Thanks very much. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be able to, shed light on what I see really going on with another attempt by Health Canada to turn natural health products into drugs. Or more specifically, they did that in 2004. But in this case, they're, as I'm sure has been gone over on the show, proposing to regulate and some of them, the targeted ones that are of interest to them, in the same manner as prescription drugs.
And that leads right into my first question, because the new proposal seems that they want to follow the risk-based model of OTC and prescription drugs and the type of scientific evidence they're going to require for natural health products. John, why do you think Health Canada has ignored the long historical traditional use of homeopathy and herbs and other natural substances when proposing this change to the current regulations?
Well, I had a wise man that I respect one time say to me that based on his intimate dealings with Health Canada, he felt that they were nothing more in essence, and this isn't to apply to all the employees within the massive department, but that at its upper echelons, Health Canada is nothing more than an instrument for big business. And it is absolutely no coincidence that these proposals came immediately following the finalization of CETA, which is the Canadian or the Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement with the European Union, which was finalized in August. And what people don't know has been going on behind the scenes for some time is that even despite the fact that Canadians protested vehemently in 1997 when this whole idea of regulating natural health products as drugs was first proposed, and again we went through in the aftermath 4 years of what amounted to, a dog and pony show where Canadians were consulted coast to coast, and as announced by Health Canada themselves, in their own words, by far the number one desire of Canadians was that they wanted greater access to a wider variety of natural health products. And Parliament, to help ensure this, said their number one proposal was that there should be a distinct category created. And again, Health Canada ignored Parliament and Canadians and classified them as drugs anyway. And they gave them their own set of regulations, but they maintained the food and drugs categories. And critics at the time felt that this was definitely a slippery slope into what we're heading into now.
Yes.
That all you had to do was have the right change in sentiment in the department, and that we are in big trouble. And what hasn't been out in the open is the degree to which pharmaceutical companies have been plastered all over these regulations, particularly Bayer, who I'm sure all the listeners know just is big enough to have just bought Monsanto, of all companies, for $66 billion. So Bayer has been pushing for this, and the reason for it, their motivation for it, is they hold hundreds of use patents on natural constituents derived from botanicals, common herbs that we are familiar with. And they, in coming forward with these proposals, they are nothing more than Health Canada, essentially through the free trade agreements, basically pandering to the pharmaceutical companies and wanting to play ball. In terms of the free trade agreements, what is trying to be established, or what they're attempting to establish, is a single marketplace and a level playing field. And in order to achieve that, they have to harmonize regulations basically around the globe, whether it be the TPP with Asia or CETA with Europe. And believe me, Canada or the European Union is not about to harmonize with Canada's regulations. And when you take a look at these Bayer patents, they are absolutely sweeping the number of botanicals and active constituents that they name, even in a single patent, and they have hundreds of these patents. So
I saw them, and it's quite remarkable what they've done. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if anybody else has commented on this, so I don't want to be going over material that has already been brought up.
No, this has not been brought up.
Yeah, well, and something else that is, I think, somewhat of an unintended consequence of these Bayer patents, once you start going through them, is that they validate the efficacy of NHPs beyond question. I mean, the botanicals and other NHPs named in these patents are being used to treat all manner of chronic disease. And they use the most advanced scientific methods and research that money can buy. And, I mean, when you take a look at these, and there's just patent after patent for cancer, it just, in my mind, simply puts to rest any argument that NHPs aren't effective.
Well, they're proving what traditional use has proven for over the thousands of years. Very much so, and regarding efficacy, the NNHPD, the department in charge, or they say is in charge. It's quite interesting that this is coming down the pipe when another NNHPD or NHPD director has stepped aside. Whether she stepped aside or was pushed aside. But regardless, the point is that the claims made for NHPs, which is another thing that's been brought up, the claims are too inconsistent or they're just too wild. Well, these are claims that natural health products were forced to make when they were turned into drugs. And so now Health Canada is turning and using the claims that they approved based on peer-reviewed human trials and traditional evidence. They're turning around and saying, you made these claims, they're just too wild, so we're going to regulate you as prescription drugs. And that seems like a setup to me. I mean, we have a close associate who actually, as a non-government organization representative, traveled to Bonn, Germany. This was somewhere around 2009, 2010. And there he happened to run into a Canadian delegate who was very tied in outside. And this Canadian delegate didn't know that he was talking to somebody sympathetic to natural health products. He knew he was from Canada. But this particular fellow had at one time been offered the entire chair, the chair for the entire Codex Committee. So this was a very tied-in person. And he was outside having a smoke, and our associate went outside
and was hanging around with him or standing beside him anyway, and he said, yeah, these health nuts have another thing coming. If they think having natural products classified as drugs is going to protect them from Codex. He said Codex is the rule book, and wait until these international trade agreements come down the pipe. And so we've actually been expecting this for quite some time and weren't surprised by it at all. But it is an excellent chance to wake people up to what's really going on behind the scenes.
If the new current Health Canada proposal is passed, how do you see it affecting your business and your ability to provide safe and effective products to your customers? Because from what you're saying, it sounds like long-term, there seems to be a plan Health Canada is being used to make it so natural health products won't be that available.
Well, it won't be that available, or they're just going to completely squeeze the industry out. And when the pharmaceutical industry, when they decide to move in on an area, they don't move in and compete. They alter the regulations so that their competition is eliminated. And this has been, we've seen it over and over again, where if something is essentially too effective for something, the pharmaceutical industry, with Health Canada in tow, simply makes it illegal, as even things we now consider harmless, such as melatonin and amino acids were for a long time. But in any event, what I see happening over time, if we allow this as Canadians to proceed, is that we are, it's kind of like boil the frog slowly, where incrementally, one by one, we're going to first see warnings start to come out about products that have been around for as much as 3 decades. For example, we recently got a warning on alpha-lipoic acid, which is an immensely useful compound for a great number of things. And it just so happens Bayer has a compound, or it has rather a patent on alpha-lipoic acid for cancer. And of course, what we'll start to see is, first there's a warning, and then there'll be another warning, and then it's like, this product is just too dangerous, and you're going to need, if you want to sell it, you're going to need to provide double-blind, peer-reviewed, double-blind human trials on it. Well, Bayer's already got all these trials waiting in the wings. So over time, if we allow this to go forward, we can look forward to, in Canada, having available to us products that are produced by the pharmaceutical industry, and beyond that will be much like the European Union. It may not happen at all quickly, but incrementally and over time, the ability of natural health and natural product retailers is just going to be completely diminished.
It really seems like now is the time for action. I don't think I've seen our industry so united on a issue for quite some time. What would you suggest as a solution or a way to, what could you suggest for maybe either the industry, other retailers like yourself, or maybe what can we do to help bring awareness to the consumers, the people who actually use the supplements and depend on them, which I believe is over 70% of Canadians?
Right. Well, I think you have to go the way of Bill C-51, and that is to start getting information into the hands of consumers through health food stores, through motivated groups on the internet. And you can't just limit your comments to Health Canada. I mean, we've got to get the MPs involved.
Yes.
We're talking about a core freedom to access products that we absolutely need for our health.
And that are safe.
They're in jeopardy, regardless of what Health Canada says. And we have to get consumers informed and motivated, and they need to start calling their MPs and the Minister of Health and the Prime Minister, and let them all know that this is not okay. I mean, Canadians have been, completely clear on the fact that they do not want natural health products regulated as drugs. And Health Canada just has their own agenda and keeps going. So one of the things that I think we should use this as an opportunity for is to try and get Health Canada to get an oversight committee together for Health Canada, simply because they have, at this point in time, absolutely no oversight. They say, the minister is their oversight, and what a joke that is, because she's brand new, and as the saying goes, the MPs are the tide, and the bureaucrats are the beach. So, without any question, the bureaucrats are running Health Canada, and being that they were created as through orders in council, involving the PM's office and the Privy Council, they are actually somewhat beside the law, meaning they decide when they want to pay attention to a court ruling or not, and often they just ignore it. We have a situation where an extremely powerful body is out of control, and Canadians need to say, this is not okay. We need an oversight committee, not just an ombudsman, but an oversight committee for Health Canada. As is said so often, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And as Shiv Chopra pointed out in his book, Corrupt to the Core, Health Canada just kind of does what they want to do. And even when whistleblowers like Michelle Brill-Edwards come forward, nothing is done about it. Yeah. As far as what we can do, we can get people motivated, active, fighting for their rights, and get them involved with their government and communicating with their MPs and so forth.
John, thanks for your time. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us, and hopefully we can do this again in the near future.
Sure, I hope we can.
All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, John, so much.
Thank you.
In today's hectic world, sleep seems to be the last thing we fit into our busy schedules. See, the health complications can be disastrous, from weight gain and premature aging to cancer. Before the advent of electric light, we slept on average about 10 hours each night. Nowadays, we're lucky to catch just 6 or 7 hours of shut-eye. Since the body repairs itself during the deepest phase of sleep, all it takes is 3 nights of sleep deprivation to rob you of your health, snatch years from your life, and cause you to store excess fat around your abdominal cavity. Researchers discovered that people who slept less than 7 hours each night had a much greater propensity towards obesity, up to 73% greater. Habitually getting 6 hours of sleep or less each night causes a noticeable decrease in brain performance. For the Health Minute, I'm Brad King.
Look for Ultimate Sleep at your local health food store.
So that wraps up our podcast. I think this was a pretty extensive look at the issue. The big issue, this is probably the biggest issue that's faced our industry in years, Deane. What did you take away from our guests and what they had to say?
I think the biggest encouraging thing I got is, I know that a lot of the people who are on the show today have had different opinions of how we should address Health Canada, but what I really can see is there's a unified approach now. Really it's time that we really let Health Canada know, through the MPs, through the Prime Minister, through the Health Minister, that enough's enough. It's time that they started to treat us fairly and within the reaches of how safe our products are, and that's probably my most encouraging thing. I can really see a nice unity. It's about time. It's really good to see. So for me, that was the best, what I got out of this.
Well, I guess one of the things I took out of this was, whether you do anything, if you're in business, it's about your customers, or if you're in the music business, it's about your audience. It's about who you're doing it for. And in this case, it seems to me that Health Canada has forgotten about consumers, the people in our industry.
Well said.
It seems to be that they're doing it for them. They're doing it for their convenience, maybe to save budget or save manpower, or just because they feel like doing it. There seems to be, after talking to our guests, no other explanation for this. I keep calling it a bombshell, this thing to be dropped on us after how hard our people in our industry have worked to develop this relationship, to be betrayed in this manner. And it makes me wonder if the people at Health Canada really understand why they're there. They're there for the people. The people aren't there for them.
Well said.
Well, thank you. So that wraps up our podcast. Bruce Cole, Deane Parks, along with our producer and director, Sam Truax, will be back next month, and we'll keep an eye on this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the CNHR News Podcast. This is Bruce Cole.
And Deane Parks.
I got to say my whole thing. I introduce you, you bastard. I introduce you.
Okay, sorry.
I know. You did it to me before, you bastard. And I have all this stuff I can't say.
I think we should keep this on. I think that should be unedited, that part. People would love it.
No, they wouldn't. Because I'd say Deane's an idiot.
People would love it. You bastard.
Okay.
Okay.